Disclaimer: this story is inspired by true events but may contain dramatized elements for storytelling purposes. Names and certain details have been changed to protect privacy. I had always looked up to my uncle. To everyone in our family, he was the kind of man you could trust, hardworking, honest, and devoted. Growing up, I spent a lot of time at his house. It was a place filled with laughter, warmth, and a strong sense of family. My uncle and his wife seemed like the perfect couple, always smiling and supporting each other in front of us. He worked long hours at his job, and even though he was busy, he never failed to check on us or make time for family dinners. I admired his dedication and the way he carried himself with such pride. As a kid, I thought that's exactly how love and marriage should be: steady, simple, and genuine. But sometimes, when I stayed over at his place during weekends, I noticed little things that didn't quite add up. Small details, like his phone buzzing late at night, and him quickly silencing it when I walked by. Or the way he would sometimes act distracted, staring at the window or zoning out when his wife talked to him. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe he was just tired from work. Still, there was this nagging feeling inside me. I trusted him, but deep down, I wondered if everything was as perfect as it seemed on the outside. Little did I know that one night while my uncle slept, I was about to uncover a truth that would change everything I thought I knew about him and our family. As days passed, those small doubts in my mind grew stronger. I began to notice patterns, things that just didn't fit with the image I had of my uncle. At first, it was subtle. A quick glance at his phone screen when he thought no one was watching, or hushed phone calls that ended abruptly whenever I entered the room. One evening, while having dinner at his house, I caught him texting someone with a smile that seemed out of place, almost secretive. When his wife asked who he was messaging, he simply said it was a work colleague. I wanted to believe him, but the feeling of unease wouldn't go away. Over the next few days, I started paying closer attention. I saw how he would often step outside to take calls, speaking in a low voice, as if hiding something. Sometimes, he'd receive messages that made him pause, his expression flickering for just a moment before he looked away. The warmth and openness I had always associated with him began to feel distant and cold. I wanted to talk to someone about it, but how could I? This was my uncle, someone I respected and cared for deeply. The idea that he might be hiding something serious was terrifying. Was I imagining things? Was I being unfair? One night, I found myself unable to sleep, tossing and turning in the guest room. The house was quiet except for the soft hum of the air conditioner. That's when I heard the familiar buzz of his phone coming from the living room. Curious and nervous, I tiptoed to where the phone was left on the table. The screen lit up with a message preview. "Can't wait to see you again." The words hit me like a punch to the chest. My heart raced, and I felt a mix of shock, confusion, and a deep sadness. If this was true, if my uncle was involved in something behind his wife's back, what did that mean for our family? I looked around, hoping no one had noticed me. The house was still, and my uncle's footsteps were faint as he moved towards his bedroom. I felt torn between respect for his privacy and the need to know the full truth. That night, as I lay awake, I wrestled with what I had seen. Should I confront him? Should I tell his wife? Or should I keep this secret and pretend everything was fine? For now, I decided to watch and wait. Because sometimes, the truth doesn't come easily, it unfolds slowly, like a shadow creeping closer in the dark. That night, I couldn't sleep. The words I saw on my uncle's phone replayed in my mind over and over. "Can't wait to see you again." Who was he texting? Why was he hiding this from his wife and the rest of the family? My curiosity got the better of me, and I decided I had to find out more, no matter how wrong it felt. My uncle was already asleep when I quietly got up from the guest room. The house was dim, bathed in the soft glow of the moonlight streaming through the windows. I tiptoed toward the living room, where he had left his phone on the coffee table earlier. My heart pounded as I picked it up, nervous about what I might find. Unlocking his phone wasn't easy, he had set a passcode. But I remembered the numbers he often murmured during phone calls, and to my surprise, the first guess worked. The screen lit up, revealing a series of messages from a woman I didn't recognize. Their conversations were intimate and secretive, messages about meeting late at night, hidden places, stolen moments away from prying eyes. Then, there were pictures. Photos of him with this woman in places I had never seen before, cafes, parks, even what looked like a hotel lobby. Each picture was a sharp stab in my heart. This was no innocent chat, it was proof of something deeper, infidelity. I quickly scrolled through more messages, feeling sick but unable to stop. The woman's voice was flirtatious, teasing, and sometimes pleading. The uncle's replies were reassuring, promising he would find time to be with her again. I realized how long this had been going on, weeks, maybe months. Suddenly, a soft noise behind me made me freeze. My uncle was stirring in his bedroom, probably waking up. I hurriedly put the phone back and slipped into my room, my mind racing with questions and emotions. Lying back on the bed, I felt a wave of betrayal and sadness. How could someone I trusted so much keep such a secret? What would happen if his wife found out? And what was I supposed to do with this knowledge? That night, the truth was no longer just a whisper or a suspicion. It was real, heavy, and impossible to ignore. The next morning, I woke up feeling numb, as if I had just come out of a bad dream. But I knew it wasn't a dream. What I discovered last night was painfully real. My mind was a whirlwind of emotions, confusion, sadness, anger, and above all, a deep sense of betrayal. How could my uncle, the man I looked up to, be living a double life right under our noses? As I sat at the breakfast table, trying to act normal, my thoughts kept drifting back to the messages and photos I had seen. The man who always preached about loyalty and family values was the same man who had secretly broken those vows. It felt like everything I believed about him was crumbling. I didn't know who to talk to. Telling his wife seemed like the right thing to do, but I feared the consequences. Would it tear the family apart? Would she blame me for revealing the secret? And what about my uncle? Would he even admit to what he had done? I was stuck in a painful dilemma. During the day, I found myself replaying every interaction I'd had with my uncle in the past weeks. Had I missed other signs? Was his distant behavior really a sign of guilt? The guilt of knowing but staying silent weighed heavily on me. I decided to keep the discovery to myself for the time being. I wasn't ready to confront anyone, and I didn't want to create unnecessary chaos. But deep inside, I knew this secret wouldn't stay buried forever. Something had to give. That night, I wrote in my journal, trying to make sense of the storm inside me. I wondered how this would affect the family and if forgiveness was even possible. More than anything, I hoped my uncle could find a way to fix what was broken if only he was willing to face the truth. The weight of this secret was heavy, but I wasn't sure if I was strong enough to carry it alone for much longer. Days turned into weeks, and the secret I was holding began to consume me more and more. I couldn't stop thinking about my uncle's double life. The evidence on his phone wasn't enough for me to act, so I started watching him more closely, hoping to uncover the full truth. I noticed how he would sometimes leave the house under the pretense of work but come back late, smelling different perfume I had never noticed before. His smiles were forced when his wife was around, and his eyes often darted nervously. I even caught him once wiping his phone screen quickly when I passed by. I knew I was crossing a line, but I needed to be sure. I felt like I was piecing together a puzzle, and every little detail made the picture clearer but also more heartbreaking. One afternoon, I followed him to a small cafe on the outskirts of town. He sat with a woman whose face I hadn't seen before. They whispered, laughed softly, and their closeness left no doubt they were more than just friends. My heart ached as I watched them, realizing how deeply this betrayal ran. After that day, I felt trapped in a storm of emotions. Anger bubbled beneath the surface, but so did sadness for my uncle, for his wife, and for the family that would eventually feel the impact. I wrestled with the question, should I keep gathering evidence, or was it time to confront the truth head-on? I felt torn between protecting the family's peace and exposing the painful reality. At night, I would lie awake, haunted by what I had seen and the secrets I held. I knew one day, the truth would no longer be something I could hide. But when that day came, I wasn't sure if anyone would be ready to face it. After days of wrestling with my conscience, I knew I couldn't stay silent any longer. The weight of the secret was too heavy to bear alone, and the longer I waited, the the more damage I feared it could cause. I decided to confront my uncle directly, away from the eyes of the rest of the family. One evening, I found him sitting alone in the living room, his face tired but guarded. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves, and spoke up. "Uncle, I need to talk to you about something important. I know about the messages, about the other woman." His face paled, and for a moment, he was silent. Then, his expression twisted into something I hadn't seen before, guilt mixed with anger. "Who told you that?" he demanded, voice sharp. But I didn't back down. I told him I had seen everything, and I needed the truth. He sighed deeply, the fight draining out of him. "It's true," he admitted quietly. "I didn't mean for you to find out like this. I never wanted to hurt anyone." He explained how he had felt lost, overwhelmed, and how the affair was a terrible mistake he regretted deeply. Despite his words, I could see the pain and shame in his eyes. It wasn't easy to hear, but it was the truth. I told him that his wife deserved to know everything, and that keeping this secret would only make things worse in the long run. The conversation ended with no easy answers. I left feeling drained but relieved that I had finally faced the truth head-on. What would happen next, I didn't know. But I was no longer carrying the burden alone. "Just say next when you want me to continue with Part 7, you said." Next, ChatGPT said, "Part 7, Aftermath and Family Impact." The truth didn't stay hidden for long. Eventually, my uncle's wife found out, whether through me or through other means, I'm not sure anymore. What I do know is that the moment she learned about the affair, the house changed. The warmth and laughter disappeared, replaced by tension and silence that was almost unbearable. Family gatherings became awkward, filled with whispered conversations and stolen glances. Some relatives took sides, while others tried to stay neutral, but the damage was done. The trust that once held us together was broken, and no one knew how to fix it. My uncle's wife was devastated. The woman I had always seen smiling and confident now looked lost and heartbroken. She confronted him, demanding answers, and he struggled to explain his actions without making excuses. Apologies were made, but the hurt ran too deep for words to heal immediately. I faced mixed reactions too. Some family members blamed me for revealing the secret, accusing me of betrayal, while others thanked me for being honest. It was a lonely place to be, caught in the middle of a family crisis I hadn't wanted but couldn't ignore. Despite the pain, there were moments of hope. My uncle showed genuine remorse and tried to make amends, attending counseling and promising to rebuild what he had broken. Whether the family would heal completely was uncertain, but the effort to mend was there. Through it all, I learned that betrayal affects everyone differently and that sometimes, the hardest thing is facing the truth, no matter how painful. Months passed since the truth came to light, and life slowly began to settle into a new normal, though nothing would ever be quite the same again. Our family had been through a storm, one that left scars but also opened doors for honesty and healing. My uncle continued to work on himself, attending therapy and trying to rebuild trust with his wife. It was clear the road ahead would be long and difficult, but he was committed to making things right. His wife, though still hurt, showed strength I hadn't fully seen before. She was learning to navigate forgiveness not just for him, but for herself. As for me, this experience changed me deeply. I realized how fragile trust is, and how easily it can be shattered by choices we make. But I also learned that truth, no matter how painful, has the power to set people free. Carrying secrets can weigh you down, and sometimes you have to be brave enough to face the darkness to find light. Looking back, I understand why I stayed silent at first, the fear of breaking a family apart. But I also know that hiding the truth only prolongs the pain. In the end, I chose to be honest because I believe families can heal if they face their problems together, not pretend they don't exist. This story isn't just about betrayal. It's about the complexities of human nature, forgiveness, and the courage it takes to confront uncomfortable truths. And while my uncle's actions caused deep wounds, they also taught me lessons about love, trust, and resilience that I will carry with me forever. 4.